I'm coming closer. I will catch you. The time it goes tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Are you afraid of the dark? Are you scared? I am you.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. See the horizon, turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands, and on we empty hearts and neon lights. They're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly. And I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find someone.
Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening. Wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for joining me tonight for round 5 of Season 17 GT Americas presented by Odyssey Racing League. Quick little thing we're going to get out of the way really quickly, but you are watching GT Americas at Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A little sneak peek about the rest of Season 17. We are at round 5, so we are at the very cloudy Donington Park tonight. And next week for the final round, it's going to be at Spa-Francorchamps. But enough about next week, let's talk about this week. And right now, specifically, we are on board with the leader of the rookies here, David Alessia, I believe it's pronounced. Number 88, Aston Martin in provisional pole right now for the rookies, 133.790. The Puerto Rican driver with a strong showing for, I believe, their first championship here at Odyssey Racing League. If not their first, then perhaps their first full championship. We can see the Noobs Are Us livery there, showing off the team name. There are a couple of other Noobs Are Us drivers on the track as well as a sister team to the Noobs Are Us drivers. Specifically, I believe it's the Wreckham race team. If you do see them out on the track, that is a sister team. Miguel Cizeron sniping the top spot away from David. 133.487 for Miguel. The 999 Aston Martin. Trying to show off that, hey, even though it's not a Noobs Are Us liveried Aston Martin, still going to do very well. You have a couple of other drivers to watch out for. One of them being Ryan Chanley, who decides to take the top step of the podium for himself. The number 67 Aston Martin now in the top spot, 133.022 for them. We do have a split qualifying like we do every week, so the rookies are out first and the pros and AMs will go afterwards. And Donington Park is such an interesting circuit because of the way that the start finish straight here goes into the first turn, but also melds into the pit entrance. I don't know if you can see it back there in the back right, but also the pit exit, which is right here. That actually, as soon as you're on the exit and as soon as you're basically able to come out, that's where the optimal point is for you to put your car coming in really fast to turn 1 to brake into the right-hander. So if you are leaving the pits, you are essentially in the way of people who are coming out coming through the start finish straight into turn 1. However, you do have the right of way, I believe, coming out of the pits. As we move over to a couple of other drivers who are driving. Gavin Camber, number 36, Aston Martin for Gavman Racing, has yet to set a time yet. However, they are coming through the last couple of turns here. This is turn 10, I believe, if I have my numbers correct. Yes, that is the Melbourne hairpin. Now coming into turn 11, which is known as Goddard's. Down into the start finish straight. Will Gavin put down a solid time here? They do. P5 overall for the number 36 Aston Martin. 134.705 for them. A couple of more laps to go before the qualifying is officially over for the rookies, and it turns over to the Pro-Am qualifying. We're keeping a huge eye on the Pro-Ams because there is a fight for the lead for the AMs and the Pros, if I remember correctly. We'll be taking a look at the standings really quickly as well later on. Actually, let's do that right now. Sebastian Casada on his last pilot lap, as we do see in the background a little bit of movement in the pit lane from the Pros and the AMs, warming up their tires, their brakes, and their brains, getting ready for that qualifying lap, or that qualifying session, excuse me. Still, Sebastian Casada still on the track trying to finish up their qualifying. The number 396 Ferrari not able to set a qualifying time yet. However, they still have until the end of the timer. Off screen, but here on the timing sheet, it does look like Ines Spector was able to get out ahead and take the podium spot for the rookies. So Ines Spector is in P1 for the rookies, 131.990, as we do see that tire wall fall there. I expected that tire wall to, or that tire not wall, what is it, like that tire tower to have gone down a lot quicker. As I do hear the roars of the Pros and the AMs now out on the track. That is the end of the official qualifying time for the rookies. They look like Sebastian Casada decided to end his qualifying early and abandon his lap. I do see the number 67 is still on the track. So it does look like they're going to be able to finish up their time. They are also purple on the Delta, so that might be Ryan Chanley in the number 67 able to squeak out a podium position here. As we see him come through the final hairpin. Crossing the finish line and taking podium for the rookies, 131.887, stealing it away from Inez at the last second. So that is Ryan Chanley, your provisional pole leader for the rookies, 131.887 for Ryan. Ines Spector, 131.990, and then finishing, rounding off your top podium position, your top podium spots for the rookies, the number 448, Spencer Bennett. Moving over with 5 minutes and 35 seconds left. Now over to the Pros and the AMs qualifying on board with the number 109 Aston Martin, driven by Chase Jones for Baller Squad Racing. a lot of elevation change here at Donington, so that is going to be one of the things that the drivers are going to have to contend here, especially with, I believe from what I heard, was questionable weather conditions here at the Donington Park circuit. However, it does look like it's just a little bit cloudy. There may be rain in the forecast for later, but we will be keeping an eye on that. 19 degrees Celsius ambient, 26 degrees Celsius on the track. Straight to the top, Chase. Money moves, Jones goes. The number 109 Aston Martin up into P2. Had the lead for a little bit, however, Andrew Rados, the number 82 Honda, squeaking on by. 126.575 for Andrew Rados, so that's going to be podium position for him. Chase Jones, the number 109 Aston Martin, P2 right now. Nicolas Menendez, not too far behind him. In provisional pole 3, once the number 756 Aston Martin. I believe one of the noobs are us. Aston Martins, to be specific. This is something that we do like to see, folks. A lot of green here on the timing charts. So a lot of good times coming in from the drivers. Zach Schneider trying to contend for podium positions here. However, P4 for him, the number 15 Aston Martin. One of the noobs are us Aston Martin gang. P4 for him. Andrew Rados with the purple time, with the purple delta, excuse me. So that's going to be giving them a faster time. So that's going to be putting a little bit of pressure on Chase Jones and Nicholas to increase their times here. Dean Solomon up into P5, passing Kemmel. Kemmel in the number 727 Honda. A new name, however, a welcome name. P6, had P5 for a little bit, however, Dean Solomon worked his way up there into P5. Michael Maletta, your leader for the silver drivers, in P7 overall, however, your leader for the silvers. Probably the worst time to switch to him, Richard Harknett. Unfortunately, I did give him that commentator's curse there. As soon as he was coming into that right-hander, that downhill right-hander, it was all eyes on him. That's the right-hander of Old Hairpin, turn 4. It's a pretty tough one, especially coming down, and if you're going to be fighting for position out of turn 2 and turn 3. Turn 4 is going to be a tough one for you to stay out on track and on track without getting any track cuts. Richard Harknett in the number 66 Porsche in the beautiful Odyssey Racing League livery, that beautiful orange and blue. Oh my goodness. You too could use this livery. if you join us here at Odyssey Racing League. Discord.gg/Odyssey Racing League. Oh, we didn't see it, but Pat Helgert unfortunately takes a little tumble there at the chicane known as turn 9, also known as the S's. So that is going to be potential end there for Pat Helgert. Number 141 Ford Mustang, unfortunately not able to set a better time than the one that they had. So 129.725 for Pat puts them into P14. We are in the official overtime for the qualifying session. So we do have 2 minutes and 27 seconds left if the driver is on an official valid lap to finish their official valid lap. Bar any crazy differences, it does look like Andrew Rados is going to be your podium. Is going to be on the top podium step. Number 82 Honda, 126.145 for Andrew, so the fastest time in P2. Number 109 Aston Martin, driven by Chase Jones for Baller Squad Racing. And the third step there for the podium is going to be Nicolas Menendez. The number 756 Aston Martin for Noobs Are Us is going to be in P3 with 127.015. So that is the end of our official qualifying time. We're going to go to a quick intermission, and we'll be right back with starting grid walk.
All the hate and he grows me and he gets cause real big, gets off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score, never getting bored. Lots of blood and gold, always wanting more freedom from the source. They don't really understand until they feel the force of party. And if you start shit, you be heartless in the darkness. Torn apart quick, you left scars ripped, you be chewed up and discarded. And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infection.
Round 5 of Season 17 of Odyssey Racing League. GT Americas on the top step of the podium. The number 82 Honda, driven by Andrew Rados. In P2, Chase Jones, the number 109 Aston Martin for Baller Squad Racing. In P3, that third step of the podium, Nicolas Menendez, the number 756 Aston Martin for Noobs Are Us. Zach Snyder, the number 15 Aston Martin, also the Noobs Are Us teammate there, lining up right next to their teammate. P4. P5. The number 81 Porsche, driven by the Australian pilot Phil Cryotheos for Odyssey Racing League Esports. Dean Solomon in P6, the number 59 Porsche for Backroad GT Racing. Right behind them in the number 727 Honda, driven by Kemmel for Darth Kemmel Racing. In P8, the number 121 Ferrari, driven by Austin Easton. In P9, overall, but your leader for the silver drivers, or the amateur drivers, however you would like to categorize them, the number 72 McLaren, driven by Michael Melita for Beyblade Racing. In P10, Tom Grantham for ERD Motorsports. The number 91 McLaren, also driven by a man from down under. P11, the number 223 bright neon green, Bentley of Justin Moffat for Crazy Rabbits Racing. In P12, the number 19 Ford Mustang, driven by Drew Jensen. Right behind him, Devin Anthony for Wreckham Race Team. This is the number 664 Honda. In P14, Richard Harknett. It does look like he's starting from the pits, but he is P14 overall. That's the number 66 Porsche. So P15 is Pat Helgert for Pat's Garage. P16, Robert Logan, and number 83 Porsche for Oral Dragon Endurance. Ryan Chanley right behind him, the leader of the rookies. Michael Melita, your leader for the AMs. Ryan Chanley, your leader for the rookies. P17 overall, but P1 for the rookies. P18 overall, Ines Spector, the number 24 Ferrari. For Aguilar NWV4. Lining up behind him, Spencer Bennett, the number 448 Aston Martin. It's a very nice purple, gold, and black livery there. I'm very partial to purple and gold myself. Little secret there. Miguel Cizeron, the 999 Aston Martin. In P19. Gavin Camber, P20 for Gavman Racing. David Alicia, the number 88 Noobs Are Us Aston Martin in P21. P22, Tim Gargle Some Water. And with that, that is also your hydration check and your stretch check. So go ahead and grab a sip of water, get a little stretch right before the race starts. Shane Sullivan in P23, the number 617 Ford Mustang. In P24, Ryan Bishop, the number 78 McLaren. P25, John Malone in the Godzillas of Metal Nissan GTR. I'm going to give this one a strong 7.5 out of 10. Not your best work, John, but still great work. Keep it up. Sebastian Quesada, number 396 Ferrari in P26. Going to go a little bit quicker here because I do see the leaders coming up to the couple of last turns here. Lucas Souza, P27 for Lucas. P28, Robert Rochta. P29, Nicholas Woods in the Miku Meme Dream Racing Team and Nissan GTR. Alan Romero in P30. P31, Miles Evie. P32 is going to go to Patrick Nadal. And last but not least, P33 is going to go to Anthony Lombardo. So looking back up at the race, in case you didn't notice, it did start racing here between the end of qualifying and the start of the race. So this is going to be very interesting for the drivers to see how this is going to change up the strategy, especially in the wet here at Donington. And that is the green flag and the start of round 5 of Odyssey Racing League Season 17. Andrew Rados with a great defensive strategy, able to get himself out in front of Chase Jones, who's going to have to wait for position here, as he does have a couple of people of Noobs Are Us drivers fanning out behind him, taking spots. I did see 2, maybe 3 wide coming into the second couple of turns here. However, it does look like the drivers are slotting single file now, especially in the rain. It's going to be a lot tougher to get some grip here, especially coming downhill. We are on board back with Dean Solomon, moving up a couple of spots. However, getting a squirrely exit there, moving up. Does seem to see Chase Jones was in the lead at the beginning because the leader of the race starts on the left side, and it is a right-hand turn for turn 1. So Andrew Rados was able to take back the lead over Chase Jones, making that overtake along the outside We're going to keep an eye here on Phil Cryotheos, who's able to gain a spot here in the little bit of the chaos in the beginning. Doesn't look like any crazy incidents happened here at the first couple of turns, as we almost see contact there between the number 81 Porsche and the number 15 Aston Martin of Zack Snyder, becoming side by side now into turns 13, I believe. No, what turn is that? That's turn 10. That's the Melbourne hairpin now, and a little bit of contact as some squirrely exits happening. And we do have a yellow flag as well, so we do have a small... That's the S's there at turn 9. So we do have a car that went off track. Still on the battle here between a couple of drivers here on our screen. Let's see if we can go back and get a visual on what happened there between the number 81 and the other cars. Side by side, Phil Cryotheos applying the pressure, but maybe a little bit too much as he goes off the wet line, almost on the dry line here. However, able to summon grip out of nowhere and able to stay out in front. So taking that position away from Kemmel in the number 727 Honda. The Porsche, known to be a lot better in the rain than some other cars. However, it also doesn't help that that Kemmel's driving the Honda, which is a very difficult car to drive in a lot of people's opinions here for ACC. So depending on the car choice, that may or may not put you at an advantage. However, it doesn't seem to be that the number 727 is struggling too much with the car per se in the rain, as we do see a car leaving the pits there, so that's going to be causing some traffic mayhem on the exit. As we were talking about earlier, the optimal line for turn 1 is right there on the exit of the exit of the pit lane, so it makes it really tough for drivers to be able to slot back in correctly without having to like drastically change what they're doing or what they're thinking, or even put themselves in danger. Gavin Camber hearing what I had to say about turn 1 and not caring anything at all, trying to go around the outside. We're not able to get enough grip. Gavin Camber was on the back bumper of Rob Rorschach coming into turn 1. However, Rob was able to create enough separation coming into turns 3 and 4 there. So Gavin Camber is going to be sliding a little bit farther back into P17. Now we're moving back up. Phil Cryotheos came prepared with his floaties, able to catch up now to Tom Grantham in P5. Along the inside, Michael Maletta sticks the front end of that McLaren, making Drew Jensen go around the outside. Now coming into the final turn, turn 11, Goddard's, who wanted more. It does look like Michael Maletta is going to be taking that spot away from Drew Jensen. So Michael inching closer and closer into the top 10. However, speaking of the top 10 and the top driver, Andrew Rados, the number 82 Honda, in the lead right now, about a 3-second gap, 2.8 to be exact, between him and the P2 driver, Chase Jones. So it does look like the rain is not going to be affecting Andrew Rados, who put on his water shoes tonight by the looks of it. Fastest time on track as well for Andrew, 133.545. Chase Jones in P2. And Nicolas Menendez in P3. Their teammate in Zach Schneider, not too far behind them, less than a second behind them. So that's going to be a fight for the bottom step of the podium between teammates. So that's going to be very interesting. We're going to keep an eye on that. A couple of yellow flags there in turns 4 and turn 5. So that second sector looks like that's car 9. Car 9 is the car of Miles Envy, so he does have a little bit of a yellow flag situation there for him. As we go back over here and we see the battle of the yellow and blue cars. It's the yellow and blue Aston Martin versus the yellow and blue BMW. Robert Borchta in that BMW able to make the overtake along the inside of the hairpin known as Melbourne hairpin. That's turn 10. This is a 45-minute sprint race, so we do have a mandatory pit window that will be opening pretty soon, I believe, if I have my math correctly. I don't have my math correctly. Don't worry about it. Forget everything I said. But the official pit window will be opening up. Drivers are mandated to take fuel. Tires are optional, and especially here in the rain, usually in the dry at Donington, I would consider changing tires, especially depending on how hard you are pushing it into the downhill sector, or the downhill section of sector 1, so turns 2, 3, 4, and the final sector, so the last couple of hairpins, depending on how hard you're pushing that. I would think about taking tires, honestly, but since it's raining here, your tires aren't going to be very hot. They're not going to be degrading as quick as they normally are when it is dry, so I wouldn't even go for the tire change, honestly. It's probably not even going to be worth it. Did it look like Tim Gargles from Water maybe having a little bit of technical difficulties allowing the Aston Martin of Gavin Camber to pass him? However, we're going to be keeping an eye on the rest of the battles. A couple of battles here happening in the background. I do see that is Michael Mileta getting the overtake on Drew Jensen. So Michael Mileta moving back up into P11. Him and Andrew Jensen battling it out, trying to knock on the door of the top 10. However, Devin Anthony for Reckham Race Team in P10 on the back bumper of that bright green. Oh, almost too close to the back bumper of that bright green Bentley of Justin Moffat, who had a very squirrely exit out of turn 4. Able to recover quite nicely, keep it on track, and is going to have to give up that position to Devin Anthony, who is now in P9. Number 664 Honda for Reckham Race Team. Get wrecked. That's mean, I'm kidding. Devin Anthony with a 5-second, I believe that is a success penalty for Devin. Gonna check really quickly here. That does look like a success penalty to me. So Devin Anthony trying to get as much time as possible on the track. Maybe going a little bit too deep there. Able to use those wet tires to his advantage and stay on track. A battle here and a lot of bumping there. Shane Sullivan, we joined them a little bit later than I hoped, but it looked like Shane Sullivan maybe broke a little bit too late or broke too deep. Slides his car in there, and unfortunately is, now I wouldn't say in the way of people turning, right? Because you're technically entitled to some spaces. We do see that is Ryan Chanley unfortunately going off and coming back onto the racetrack, giving enough space to the drivers. So that was a very nice rejoin by Ryan Chanley. Thank you, Ryan. But going back to Shane, it did look like, oh no, I spoke way too loud. I'm so sorry, Shane. The Mustang doing what the Mustang loves to do best and just losing the back end randomly Speaking of, Aston Martin just decides to make me eat my words, I guess, and decides to go off the track there. So the Aston Martin, I guess, doing Aston Martin things. Normally the Aston Martin is a lot better in the rain. I would consider the Aston Martin a lot better in the rain than the Ford Mustang. However, it does look like it is going to be challenging conditions for the drivers, as we do see water starting to pool up in sections of the track, as you do see a fight there on the bottom of our screen between Sebastian Casada and Ines Spector. But going back to the incident between Shane Sullivan and the other two cars there in the final hairpin there, we're going to let the stewards decide that one, because they're going to have a much better view than we do. However, we do see some penalties being handed out to some cars. A couple of 10-second time penalties, 15. I did see a drive-through, I believe, for causing an incident. So someone's going to have to serve that. Speaking of serving that, a nice quick look at the triple Aston Martin Noobs Are Us gang. Coming into the S's now in a row with a little bit of traffic there in the middle to boot. However, the colors do match. That is a little bit of front end damage there for the Nissan GTR, who bumps a little bit of the number 756 there, giving them a little bit of love taps, showing the Nissan GTR, showing that Aston Martin how much they love them by giving them some kisses there. However, was it warranted? I don't know. That is going to be the blue flag. Some flashies there asking to give way, as the official pit window is open. So drivers, depending on when they elect to, are going to have to go in and finish their mandatory pit stop. Robert Logan trying to do his best to keep up with Ryan Bishop here. However, it does look like a couple of unfortunate incidents has pushed down the 83 Porsche some spots now into P20. Do see further down on the timing tower there to our left, the drivers with the green squares next to their plate number shows that they have completed their official pit stop. So we do have the number 72, the number 66, the 999, the number 448. We do have a Porsche there. That's a triple. That's actually the number 66. Speaking about the number 66. So coming out on cold tires in the rain. It took a little bit of a tumble there. So that is a yellow flag for that area of the track. And we're somewhere that's not a yellow area is Shane Sullivan along the inside. Did he leave enough room for Tim gargle some water? I think he did. A great move, using all of the track available to Shane, moving up spots now, making an effort for that spot. Great effort. Tim gargles some water. Down, but not out. A drag race there on the start-finish straight now. Coming into turn one, the Ford Mustang trying to get on the inside to get into the racing line. The number 660 McLaren tried to make a switch back there, tried to go along the inside, however, wasn't side by side in the braking zone, so they were not in a position to be granted space. So that is going to be Shane Sullivan moving up ahead and staying ahead, making that overtake that he set up a couple of turns ago well worth it. Now, tonight is a bit of a curveball for the drivers because it is a mixed session. So it was going to be either wet or dry to wet or wet to dry. And unfortunately, it was dry for the qualifying, but wet for the race. So that does change up the strategy of some of the drivers. We do see, that was an Aston Martin. I believe that's the Aston Martin of Ryan Chanley. Again, in the background there. Take a small vacation in the grass. Still, your race leader, Andrew Rados, the number 82 Honda. A little bit of an interesting racing line there for the number 66. However, they were most probably giving way to the blue flag, which just happens to be the race leader. As more time penalties come in, we can see them on the bottom right-hand side of our screen. That's a pretty hefty penalty there for the number 67. That's 10 seconds so far. Hopefully it wasn't anything too serious. Patrick Nadeau in the 112 Lamborghini with the battle scars and damage on the front, trying to keep it together, specifically the front end, trying to keep it together to try to catch up to the number 256 McLaren in front of him, driven by Anthony Lombardo. Anthony also with some battle scars and damage on the front of their car, so it's going to be cutting down on the acceleration of these cars. And speaking of acceleration, the Lamborghini's getting a little bit of squirrel, and no. So causing another incident, the number 112 Lamborghini loses it in turn 4. And while trying to hold on to the brakes, was trying to get back on track and trying to regain control of the car. However, the McLaren that we saw on our screen was trying to get past, and unfortunately they both collided. Oh no. It's a good battle that was brewing there, but unfortunately the wet, slippery conditions takes another one. Robert Logan along the inside. Not able to make it stick though, coming into turn 1 now. Squirrely exit for Ryan Bishop. In front of him is the Porsche of Robert Logan, able to keep up now as the McLaren gets a little bit defensive there and might have pushed off that Porsche off track, as we did see Robert Logan put almost all 4 of his tires into the grass there. And it may look like a track cut there, trying to keep up with the McLaren in front of him. Oh, the number 95 goes off. So the 95, trying to give space, goes off. Lets everyone by. The number 83 is in the lead right now. Took over the position, or is in front of the 78, who is battling for position with Robert Logan, who's there on our screen. Behind them is... Oh no, Robert Logan going off, going way too deep into the last turn, and unfortunately rejoining way too... Oh, that is a very interesting rejoin there by the number 83, almost putting themselves completely in the path of that Porsche in the back. I believe that's the number 66 Porsche, and almost causing a collision there. However, both drivers coming out clean and survive for the next couple of rounds. A squirrely car there for that Aston Martin. That's the BSR Aston Martin, driven by Chase Jones, who's trying to catch up to Andrew Rados, our race leader, who is about 15 seconds in front of him. However, someone who's less than a second in front and behind, Inez Spector and Michael Moletta, fighting for P21 here. As we do see that Lamborghini leaving the pit lane in the background. Went into the pits a little bit early to repair some of that damage by the looks of it. So that is the Aston Martin of Miguel Cizeron and Richard Hartnett, who we are on board with now, the number 66. As we can see, the spray is pretty deadly for the drivers here, so it makes it pretty difficult to see where they're going. We do see it, the 999 going way too deep, and that's going to be Richard Hartnett taking the opportunity and advantage there and taking that position. P25 for Richard. Drivers still have 12 minutes and 40 seconds left to do their pit stops. We do see a lot of drivers have elected to finish theirs now. As we keep an eye on the timing tower as well, we can see everyone that comes in and out of the pits. There is a yellow flag for the number 36. Unfortunately went off track, but is back on track, so hopefully they get back up to speed really quick, because they do have a conga line of cars behind him getting ready to catch up. We do have a yellow flag for the 664 as well. That's Devin Anthony, who is there on the outside of turn 4. So hopefully they get back on track safely. Almost causing a little bit of chaos there, but Devin Anthony trying to get back on the racing line safely. We do see some cars sliding back. Devin also losing that spot, unfortunately, to Shane Sullivan, who was able to catch up. Ryan Chanley on the back bumper of Ryan Bishop, but unfortunately I said his name way too loud, and that is going to be a slippery exit for the number 67 Aston Martin, who's going to be taking a trip through the grass to try to get back on the track safely. Sebastian Casada knocking on the door of the top 10, however, likes to take his pit stop early in the pit lane. The number 396 Ferrari refueling and possibly re-rubbering. I don't think so. No, there's no way. I wouldn't do it, not in the rain. Eiston trying to use all of the engine power that Mercedes, the Mercedes, that's a Ferrari, using all of that engine power that the Ferrari can give him, trying to catch up to the Honda there on the start-finish straight, but coming into turn 1, Camo was just a little too quick and was able to stay out ahead. Sebastian Casada leaves the pit lane and goes right into the battle here on the back bumper of Ryan Bishop. Able to get out ahead, almost 3 wide coming into the hairpin. That is the number 78 along the inside, the furthermost inside. We do see the number 727 Honda also catching up, trying to cause and stir mayhem, as we do see the conga line of cars behind trying to catch up. So Donington Park is a very interesting circuit where even when you're not paying attention, and it feels a lot bigger than it looks. So there are places where you can go 3 wide, 2 wide. However, it's just not advisable because of just the speed of the circuit. Along the inside, Michael Maletta makes it stick. A great move along the inside of turn 4. Michael Maletta moving up into P16. Sean Sullivan leaving the door just a little bit too open. And Michael Maletta just walking on in. Some contact, behind Michael here. That was the Ford of Shane Sullivan, and I believe that's the Honda of Devin Anthony. It looks like the number 72 and the 664 are fighting for position, so that Ford Mustang is going to be a blue flag. No, excuse me, they're not. That is not a blue flag. That is for position as well. It is the 727 Honda, so that Honda along the inside, that is the blue flag. However, that does push the number 72 out wider than he likes to. So now behind him, that is 2 cars battling for position. That is Sean Sullivan and Devin Anthony alongside each other coming into turn 15. Who wants it more? It looks like Devin Anthony, as is able to make that move stick. I keep saying turn 15. I don't remember which track I'm trying to think of. But this is turn 11, Goddard's. And now we're coming down the start-finish straight, which is Wheatcroft Straight, into turn 1, Redgate. There we go. I'm going to switch my brain onto the right track. Excuse me. Chase Jones, the first person out inside of the top 5 to get into the pit stop. But moving on up, Zach Schneider also, as well as Tom Grantham. Well, Tom is still in the pits. He's going to be leaving the pits soon. We can actually see him leaving the pits right now. The number 91 is leaving the pits right now. It is the 331 still in the pits. So Chase Jones moving down to P5. The number 109 Aston Martin, fastest time for them, 134.327. It's going to be very interesting to see how the top half of this top 5, not even the top half, the top 90% of the top 5. We're going to see when they elect to pit. It's going to be very interesting. As we do have some traffic here for Chase Jones trying to squeeze himself on by. Your race leader is still Andrew Rados in the number 82 Honda. Phil Cryotheos moving up into P2. Nicolas Menendez was P3, however, has dove into the pits. We do see another Honda diving into the pits as well. Do see that is the Aston Martin of, I was going to say Shane Sullivan, but that is not. That's the Aston Martin of Ryan Bishop. That is Robert Rochta also in the pits. So they are taking their pit stops now. 5 minutes, 20 seconds left to go in the official pit stop timer. So it does look like that the drivers are going to be starting to set their eyes on the pit lane. So that moves Chase Jones on up into P3. Nicolas Menendez, Drew Jensen, and Kemmel all in the pits. Zach Schneider also in the pits. So they are trying to get it out of the way by the looks of it. Andrew Rados, your race leader, also entered the pits. So we're going to hopefully see Andrew leave the pit lane and still be ahead. He is fighting the number 81, who he had a pretty good time difference against. However, Andrew Rados now leaving the pits, number 81 in P2. About a good 10 seconds behind him now, only doing coming out of turns 10 with the Melbourne hairpin, and now turn 11 Goddard's. However, your race leader is out of the pit lane and into turn 1 now. So it's going to be a nice little lead there for Andrew Rados. Phil Cryotheos, who we are on board with, is your second place driver right now. Chase Jones, number 109, Aston Martin in P3. May have been some contact here between some of these drivers. Maybe a little bit of traffic on the exit. As we will wait for the last 3 minutes and 40 seconds left of the official pit window. And we will actually move on to a quick little segment that I like to call Money Makers and Money Donators. Whoa, 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 whoa. Did anyone else see that? That would have been very scary seeing that as a driver, just a car inching closer to the racing line. That is the number 95 off the track. That's going to be causing a sector yellow there. That is sector 2, if I remember correctly. Now the drivers, regardless of their classification, so we do see the number plates of the drivers next to their car manufacturers. So we do see at the top a Rados. For Andrew Rados, we do see that he is driving a Honda, and his Honda is the number 82. So right next to that number 82, there is a green box. And at the beginning of the race, that box was orange. With a white number 1 on it. That means that they have to do 1 mandatory pit stop. If it is a green box, that green box means that their mandatory pit stop is complete. Do have 20 seconds left for them to make that happen. Phil Cryotheos looks to be like the only driver that has not elected to finish their pit stop, and it looks like he's going to be going until the very, very end. Actually, I sit corrected. Phil Cryotheos diving into the pit lane at the very last second. The number 81 Porsche going to be losing a couple spots now, so that moves Chase Jones up into P2, who has a 29-second gap that he's going to have to start working on between him and P1 Andrew Rados. Tom Grantham able to slip by Cryo as he was in the pit lane refueling. So Tom Grantham taking the bottom step of that podium away from Cryo. Cryo in P4 right now by the looks of it, however, is not going to have that much of a gap difference between him and Nicolas Menendez, who's in P5. So Cryotheos is maybe potentially going to have to keep one eye in front of him and one eye on the back mirror, waiting for Nicolas to catch up. On our screen, Michael Moletta and Sebastian Casada are still fighting for overall position next to their manufacturer. There is a number plate. If the background color of their car number is red, that means they are a rookie. If it is silver, that means they are an amateur driver, and if it is white, that means they are a gold or a pro driver. So the championship is mostly focusing on your own classification, so the rookies are in a championship against the rookies, the AMs against the AMs, and the pros against the pros. However, here on the track, you're able to battle whoever and whatever car you like. You are allowed to battle for overall position, as we do see another battle brewing above us in the couple more spots above us in the standings. Easton in P6 defending against Kemmel in P7, the 727 Honda NSX Evo, the all blacked out Darth Kemmel Racing Evo to be exact. And with that, our official pit window is closed. So that does mean that there is 10 minutes left in round 5 of season 17 GT Americas. Thank you so much for joining me thus far. It has been one very exciting season, I might add. It's been pretty interesting. New things that we've added this season is the internal BOP, the Odyssey Racing League internal BOP, and the success ballasts, which I do, in my opinion, I do believe they are a success. It does bring an interesting element to strategy and how drivers are going to be how much they put on the line, essentially, in the race, especially when they have to contend with those success time penalties that they're giving out. 15 seconds for P1, 10 seconds for P2, and 5 seconds, excuse me, for P3. Moving down, Inez Spector trying to make it a drag race against Shane Sullivan in that Ford Mustang. Along the outside, Inez tries to go, squeezing Shane on the apex there. Is Shane able to get out ahead, though? Who is able to win on the drag race? The Ferrari is winning out and able to put himself out in front. The dark blue Ferrari of Inez Spector now in P15. Inez giving a little bit of a squeeze there on the apex of turn 11. I keep saying turn 15, right? What? I am so sorry. I don't know why I keep saying turn 15. But Inez Spector on turn 11, squeezing Shane along the inside. Applying a little bit of that brain pressure, making him think, where is he going to go? Do have a couple of yellow flags out on the track. There's a yellow flag for the number 83 Porsche. That's Robert Logan. Unfortunately, off there on the S's. Is going to be causing a yellow flag for that little sector of the track. Off our screen, Kemmel able to move up into P6. Looks like Easton had a little bit of an incident, went off track. So that is going to be him losing a position, as well as we do see the Ferrari in front there give way for the blue flag. Coming down the hill, the 999 Aston Martin, driven by Miguel Cizarón, putting all 4 tires in the grass, however, able to get back on track and able to stay on the racing line coming into turn 4, which is pretty good. Pretty great handling there by Miguel. Pretty great save to also keep that on the track. Do see a little bit of track usage on the car there with some of the dirt picked up on the side skirts there and the front splitter. There's 6 minutes, 13 seconds left in round 5 of season 17 Odyssey Racing League GT Americas. Quick little reminder, this is round 5, so this is Donington Park for all of our leagues this week. Next week, round 6, our final round, will be at Spa-Francorchamps. You are watching GT Americas Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. We do also hold GT Europe on Sundays at 7 p.m. Central European Standard Time. And right after GT Americas, we do have our GT Americas After Hours, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Moving over to Phil Cryotheos, the number 81 Porsche. Able to chop down the distance between himself and Tom Grantham in front of him. Now only 2.3 seconds between him and the P3 car. And unfortunately, I spoke too loud. Oh, what is it with me and the commentator's curse? I am so sorry, Cryotheos. Cryotheos unfortunately taking a tumble down in turn 4. So that's going to put him off the track. It's going to be slowing him down and creating a bigger cushion between him and Tom Grantham. Not too much of a cushion though. 5 seconds between him and P3. So with 4 minutes left in the race, anything could happen. And we could be looking at Phil Cryotheos on the final podium step, however. Easton also trying to contend, trying to get into the top 5. The number 121 Ferrari fighting with Kemmel. Excuse me, Darth Kemmel. I'm gonna call, yeah. Fighting with Darth Kemmel and then a 727 Honda. Darth Kemmel might have had a little squirrely exit there, or may have just been a quick turn of the wheel trying to get onto the racing line. A squirrely exit for the 727. Easton able to get alongside now, called side by side, wheel to wheel, hub to hub. Unfortunately, maybe Easton is going a little bit too, giving up a little bit too much space and distance, however, along the inside, making the 727 go around the outside. Now side by side into the final turn, turn 11 Goddard. Who wants it more, Easton or Kemmel? Darth Kemmel, unfortunately, putting tires into the grass. That's going to be slowing him down, going too deep. Oh no. And Kemmel, unfortunately, given a drive-through as well. I believe that's for track limits. So that is an unfortunate end to what could have been an amazing battle here. Oh no, I feel very sorry for the 727, but that's track limits, unfortunately. So Easton able to secure the P6 spot, and Kemmel is going to be losing a couple. Patrick Nadal. Able to get past John Malot, who had a squirrely exit there at turn 4. The Nissan GTR, very heavy car, and sometimes if you just push it a little bit too much, it's going to slide right off the track. And that is unfortunately what happened to John Malot. And with that, that also makes them lose a spot. So Patrick Nadal up into P27. However, with that time penalty, I don't know if that's going to make much of a difference. Keeping an eye on your race leader, the number 82 Honda, driven by Andrew Rados, with the fastest time on track as well, 134.387, coming through the last turn here at Donington Park, and it looks like he's going to be crossing the finish line and going to be triggering the final lap. Is this the final lap? It is not. It looks like there's going to be one more lap after this. Going back to John Malot in the Godzillas of Metal Nissan GTR. On the back bumper of Patrick Nadal, I believe the Nissan isn't so great in the rain, if I remember correctly. The Lamborghini, not so much either, but the Nissan is not as favored by Kunos and the developers as the new Lamborghini is. So I don't expect it to just, like, on paper, do well in the wet. However, I may be wrong because... tell me if I'm wrong, racing fans, but if I remember correctly, the only cars that do well in the rain are front-engine cars that are heavy in the front, or the Porsche, which has it in the back. Mid-engine cars usually don't do very well in the rain, from what I remember. With the timer winding down and crossing the last corner, the number 82 Honda, driven by Andrew Rados, crossing the finish line and is now triggering the white flag. So this is the final lap for round 5 of season 17 Odyssey Racing League GT Americas. It does look like a big fight here. And a little bit of traffic delays for the number 81, Phil Cryotheos, who looks like he was able to squeeze his way up into the podium. Tom Grantham may have had a squirrely exit. Let's see if we can figure out what happened to the number 91. So coming out of the first couple of turns, we do see the number 91 coming into out of turns 3 and turn 4, and spins it out of turn 4 into the sand trap. And that is going to be giving the Porsche of Phil Cryotheos the wide open door into the bottom step of the podium. So Tom Grantham binning it with the official wipeout of the night, and unfortunately losing that podium spot. But speaking of podium spot, on the top of the steps of the podium, the number 82 Honda NSX Evo, driven by Andrew Rados, coming through turn 11 Goddards and crossing the checkered flag and the finish line, taking the victory. Congratulations, Andrew, with the win for round 6. Excuse me, round 5. Eyston, the number 121 Ferrari, finishing in P6. Right behind him, Justin Moffat, the number 223 Bentley, your winner for the silver drivers and crossing the finish line. But also crossing the finish line on our screens right now, the number 109 Aston Martin, driven by Chase Jones for Baller Squad Racing in P2. Congratulations to Chase Jones. And contact between the number 81 and the Porsche of, that's the 85, I believe. That's the, or excuse me, the 83, the Porsche of Robert Logan. We do see Cryotheos fighting for position with Thomas Grantham, who is still in the back bumper. Thomas Grantham diving deep into the turn. Unfortunately, way too deep, and is not able to get enough grips. Number 91 is now behind Phil Cryotheos, who's able to edge out in front. Drag race in the last turn. Who wants it more? The number 81 Porsche, driven by Phil Cryotheos, able to stay out on front and crossing the checkered flag and taking the last step of the podium. Phil Cryotheos in P3 with a hard-fought ending there by Thomas Grantham in the number 91. So Thomas Grantham fighting for until the very bitter end, but not able to get it. P4 for Tom Grantham. P5, Nicholas Menendez, rounding off your top 5. Your winner for the rookies, I was not able to get them. That's Sebastian Casada. Congratulations, Sebastian, your winner for the rookies. And again, your rookie for the amateur drivers, Justin Moffat. Congratulations, Justin. Excuse me. Your race winner, Andrew Rados, followed by Chase Jones. And on the last step of the podium, Phil Cryotheos. Congratulations to your podium placers. It was a great race indeed. A huge curveball, a huge monkey wrench thrown at the drivers. It was dry conditions at the beginning for practice and qualifying, and then right before the race started, the downpour just happened here at Donington Park, which makes it even tougher. And that does signal the end of round 5 for season 17 GT Americas, presented by Odyssey Racing League. Thank you so much for joining me every single week, wherever you are, whenever you are listening to this. Thank you so much. Next week, round 6 for GT America is going to be at Spa-Francorchamps. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel here. And don't be afraid to hit that notification bell so you know when we go live next time with our next league race. We're going to be going live again Sunday at 8 p.m. Central European Standard Time for round 5 of GT Europe. And then next week, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Excuse me, 9 p.m. Eastern. What am I saying? I'm not good at numbers, apparently. Yes, 9 p.m. Eastern is going to be the qualifying for the final round of GT Americas. So I hope to see you there. And if you're not, thank you for joining us anyway. My name is Christian Julian, and on behalf of Odyssey Racing League, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your night.